Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good night, good time. Welcome back to the LAMDA log. This is week 6, day 5, Friday, the 27th of February, 2026. And it was a good day. Let me just jump right into it. Shout out Sandridge. So we had ensemble singing at 9 a.m. We talked about our glides a little bit as we warmed up, and they're a good warm up because they help lift the tongue and avoid tongue depression. It also helps create space away from the back teeth, disengaging the jaw because you don't want that like overactive jaw involved. Then we talked about the cry quality or the cover sound or the tilt where your larynx tilts forward like mm, you can feel it if you do this. Please. We talked about the phrase please in a pleading, whinging kid kind of a way. Um, that's one of those ways we activate that. Please, 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 please. That kind of ease. Another way where there's a smidge of a tilt is with a reassurance like, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. When you're trying to reassure like an animal or a villain who's trying to like rob you. Then we sang on please ascending with in increasing intent. So please, 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 please. Right. And then we worked on the little chorus part for Hades Town, which is oh, keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head, oh, you gotta keep your head low. Keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head. And then we added like the sound effects to it too. Oh, keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head up. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. Oh, keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head up. And then we did a down the octave in the lower one, which I don't remember if I'll remember it. Oh, keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head, I don't remember. And then the upper part was, oh, 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 keep your head low. Oh, you gotta keep your head low. If you wanna keep your head, something like that. It's mostly like a third, I think. Anyway, so we worked on that. We learned the three parts. We organized into three groups by just being numbered. And then we're going to devise little improvisational parts and create like a little thing. And he said, if you know the song, it's from Hades Town. If you know it, don't just do what they do in the show, which is like, why do you turn around when your brother is bleeding? Oh, keep it. Why do you build your grave and call it freedom? Tell me why I can't look in my brother's eye. Keep your head low. So whatever. So I think we're gonna work on that more next week because we just got the beginning of it. Then we had self-taping and screen. This is awesome. We are done with Gary. Gary was our intro, and now we're with Charles Douglas, who is, I think, the head of the filming department. And he is the most comforting, sweet, calming presence of a man. He sounds like a therapist. He's Canadian. I think he's from Toronto. And he talks like this. It's like, wow, thank you so much. I'm really glad you brought that up because, you know, I'm going to change my next slide because of all the wonderful questions you brought up. And it's like, oh, thank you for pointing that out. That's something we're going to talk about later. And he's just so validating and comforting and lovely. Big fan. He said he wanted to start by landing with us in the space. Um, I don't know what this is. Oh, all tours are doing first rounds of auditions with self tapes. This is the new and forever norm. It's more accessible, it's cheaper, it's easier. Um, the first round of auditions for live theater, for filmed features, for television, for video games, for like all this work, almost all of it will be um, self-tape first. So it's a crucial skill that we need to have if we want to work. We need to use Canvas in this class. It's important. There's a bunch of resources there. And then we did an introduction of everyone. We did our names, our pronouns, and then our concerns slash excitement or experience that we've had with screen. And then we did a check-in, 0 to 5. How ready is everyone today? How much experience do you have? And then how effective have your self tapes been in the future? 5 was that you've booked off every self tape that you do, and 0 is you've never booked from one. Charles is a master teacher, textbook perfection. Like just his class is a master class in teaching, just in using and illuminating the learning objectives from the beginning and pointing out resources and further ways for people to develop who already have experience, and being able to accommodate for those who have no experience, and being able to adapt the class according to classroom needs and expectations and desires. He's really great. It's cool to see how that can be applied to a theater situation, because I feel like most master teachers are like English or history teachers who follow kind of like all the principles that you learn in education, and so that's wonderful. Um, we're in an arms race of self-taping right now, meaning that it's developing and improving regularly. Like before, you could film anywhere and anything, and it was kind of just like, yeah, you know, this is what we're doing in the meantime before we can get back to in person, because it really blew up during the pandemic when people couldn't like meet in big groups and stuff. So, but now there's expectations of having a nice flat background and having good lighting and having quality cameras and good sound. And so things are developing regularly. And so it's fascinating. We're all desperate to stand out and to attain because attention spans are shrinking. So how do you like grab their attention from the beginning? How are you setting yourself apart and being interesting? Basically, how do you book the gig? There's an article by Nancy Bishop on Canvas, and it talks about folks casting in film have less of an imagination. So it's really helpful to help them out. Dress in a similar part that doesn't seem like you're wearing a costume, but what do you already own that helps meet that? Like, for example, if you're reading for a banker, how would you dress like a banker? Maybe a suit and tie, or maybe a button-up shirt, at least something that gives the feeling of that, so that the casting directors can see you in that role. Excuse me. And then don't take these tactical risks with your general tapes. So there's an example of Dacre Montgomery, who played Billy in Stranger Things, and his Stranger Things audition had like a full production value. It was a short film, and I think he had his shirt off for part, which was a risk because there's union rules that say that you're not allowed to be show nudity in self tapes and these different things. And so, he took a very strong stance and an idea, and was like, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do this self tape. So that But you don't typically want to do that. That's usually further along the rounds. Like you've done things, they've seen you, they're interested, but maybe it's between you and another person or two. So how do you stand out at that point? And then you can make these calculated risks and decisions. Or maybe you're more well known, and so that at that point you kind of gain a little more freedom. Um, Economics shapes so much of this business, right? Like he mentioned how an actor was 45 minutes late to a shoot once, and it cost them like every 5 minutes was like $10,000 or something. Just it's an expensive business, and so you have to meet the bottom line and all these things, and it's just it's expensive. All tapes that don't follow the directions are cut because you won't follow directions on set. Something um, that Charles does is he's been involved in casting rooms as well, and he has a specific title for the video and the email to be submitted under, and then he gets 10,000 auditions, and he has to cut those in half immediately. So the first thing he does is he'll type in the specific title that he asked for, and then all the ones that put in the title wrong won't even be looked for. There's no point. It could be the best one ever, but they'll find someone who's also adequate or also good enough. Adequate's the wrong word, but so many different people can play so many different parts, and they can be great. So when you have 100 different people who could do it, how do you start to eliminate them? And so be super specific about following those instructions, because if you don't follow the instruction, you're cut, because they don't want to take that risk with you. Sending in multiple tapes, like takes, this is something you should talk about with your agent and with your team, because sometimes it, like, you could do one that's very strictly what they asked for, and then one that's a little more interpretation. And in the US, Charles, and in North America, Charles says how sometimes that gives the impression that you're not working. You don't have 3 other audition tapes to submit that day. And so, we'll wait for them to get a little more established. And so there's these kind of mind games about it, which is fascinating. And then we need to become fluent in filmmaking. Film is more valued in the US, so there is more leaning into technicalities and production value in the self tape itself. So make sure you have good lighting and good sound and good all of these things to improve it. And then in the US, you would get cast in theater because of television or film, and in the UK, it can be the opposite. You can get cast in a good film or television because you have a prominent stage presence, and so there's a little more overlap in the UK, because London is a city that does film, television, and theater to the highest degree in the UK. London is the city. In the US, LA is film and New York is theater, and so there's this huge divide, and so they've specialized in that sense. But video game, which Charles has a lot of experience with, is a totally different medium. It is the youngest, and it's completely worth learning. It is a $278 billion industry, meaning that it is more lucrative and a more profitable industry than all the other forms of entertainment combined. That's including film, television, sports. What were the other things? Streaming. All of these combined do not over like do not overshadow the video game industry. It's huge. Like esports are watched more than regular sports right now, which is just a fascinating idea. So if you are flexible, then you can work in different fields, right? If you learn the lingo and the specialties and everything in different fields, then you can work in them. Because I asked if you get stuck in the video game world, and you can if you're not adaptable. So film is and this was kind of his pitch. Film is like 2 hours of screen over a few months, and video games are 700 hours of character work over 5 years with a small team. So he's like, which one would you rather do? And get paid much more than you would be making on the West End, like making a good salary. So, so yeah. Also, in this class, we are going to submit a self-tape every week, which I'm so excited about. I'm excited to do these things and learn about self-tape. It feels super applicable. It feels great. Yeah, it's cool. If you submit it late, it will not be watched. For example, our next self-tape that is due on Wednesday at noon, if we turn it in at 12:01, he will not watch it because that's the industry. And so it's too bad. And then we're going to have the opportunity to, I don't know if it's next term or when it is, but do some actual like self tapes and then have them submitted to industry professionals and receive feedback on them. And if we don't follow the instructions or if we don't do them well, they're going to think that like it's too bad the student in a great program is no good, because LAMDA has a reputation and is a good institution and a good school. And so if you are not, that's just really going to show poorly on you, not on LAMDA at all. Yeah, so that's super cool. And then we asked a little bit about like using accents. And so the idea there is think about the character you're portraying. Is it going to be necessary for the character? It's good to default with your own accent unless asked otherwise. But think about that. And then self-tapes, then we got into self-taping specifically, information about it. Self-tapes are the most popular and the standard process for all performance. If you don't have the tools, you can't participate. So, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of aspects of it. There is the brief when you receive an email and stuff. The brief is a test sometimes. So the brief is the instructions you receive from the audition or the studio, whatever. And sometimes there's interesting or weird instructions just to see if you can read and follow directions. Once again, there's just so many people, so you need to eliminate things. Then you receive sides, which we know about. It's a little section of dialogue. I have some that I just wrote up here that I'm gonna perform today for Top Girls. I'll tell you all about that tomorrow or Sunday, depending on when I record my videos. And then you have your ident or your slate in the US and Europe. In the UK and Europe, it's called an ident. Ident. For probably identification. Ident. I just made that connection. I'm smart. And we call it a slate for I do not know why. But that's where you state your name, certain things about yourself. Sometimes you have to say where you're based or your height or your weight or something. And then shot size, and you have a reader. With the shot size, we'll get into it a little bit, but it should be 1080p. That's what's expected. That's HD. It's been improving and going up recently. But Charles thinks it's going to kind of stick at HD because 4K is the next option. And that's a little difficult for some people, and it's a big file and things. And so that's kind of where he thinks it's going to end. But also, you need to treat the nonverbal as the text. There is so much to be shown and understood in nonverbal. So you must know the text perfectly. Okay. In the US, there is more of a culture of being able to like hold your text, but in the UK, you're really expected to know it. Where you're based can be based on like tax breaks and stuff. Like if you're based in New York, you might have different tax than if you're based in Canada or the UK or wherever. So you could lose a job just based on your taxing situation. shot size, frame size, and scale. We talked about this. So like if the screen, oh wait, I went up. Oh, that's harder than it looks. This screen, um, you kind of want it, you want it to be like mid chest up. And then it's nice to like have it at the side. And this is your medium close up. And then this is looking straight at the camera. You would want to look like off here. So it looks like you're just speaking next to, like the person is right next to the camera. Because once you look like right into the camera, then it's kind of jarring. And it feels like you should be participating in a way. And it doesn't feel like you're talking to someone. It feels like you're talking directly to the audience. So we pick a spot like right around here or there, maybe. I don't know. The reader is what's most important for a reader is that they are able to take your notes and be collaborative. Not that they're a good actor. We've heard multiple stories of people who've just been bad. Brittany was saying that she had an alumnus who auditioned for the National and the RSC in a short period of time, and that the reader for both of them were terrible. And so we shouldn't get caught up or stuck on these. I think I mentioned that in Monday's video. But so it doesn't matter if they're a good actor if they don't give you what you need. And so just create it for yourself. Anyway, so the medium close-up is like a bit of the shoulder and head up. It's intimate. It's drawn to the eyes. You can catch more. You can really catch those micro expressions. Like, I don't know why I always want to be like over here. Like I can do like a little thing and it feels big. And I don't not think that this is HD by any means. I mean, you can like see the noise of the wall here and look how like fuzzy, pixelated I look. No way this HD. But the closer, if you get like a super close up, if it's like just focusing on my eye, then that loses some humanity because this feels human when it's a person. But then it's like maybe I'm looking over there or something, and then it's dehumanizing in a sense, and it focuses on a specific feature, and then anything further away starts to become less intimate, and it doesn't feel like you're having that conversation. You're right in that conversation. It's just like, oh, this is a thing. This is whatever, right? That's kind of the thing that I'm learning. The medium close-up, mid-chest to head. Technical considerations, you want to be behind a plain wall or a backdrop. You could have like a nice expensive camera, or you can just have a phone, right? Like those cameras are way better than most cameras. 1080 pixels or 1080p is expected. That's HD. Lighting is huge, right? The standard, well, not necessarily standard, but the best kind of situation is a 3-point lighting where you have a front light, a back light, and a side light, a fill light. We haven't learned too much about that, but if you don't have those options, a natural light is very good, because right now I have this reading light that I clip to the top of my computer, and I just put it in my face. And that washes me out a little bit. Like it's better than having nothing at all, partially because the light is behind me. So I actually do have a 2-light system right now because I have this light that kind of illuminates the top of my head. It's not a great place, but then I'm in shadow and everything's brighter around me, which is bad because you want to illuminate your subject much more. And so I kind of have a 2-light thing going on, but it's a little flat. It's a little, I don't know too much about lighting. Yeah, but you want to put the natural light, the window or whatever it is behind the camera, so like that it's looking on me. And then pick a quiet place. Lapel mics are really great, or a Rode mic, spelled Rode. He suggested a Rode Video Mic Pro. And he said you can get a stand for like 15 pounds and a phone connector for 7 pounds, and that will greatly improve your situation. A tip about costumes: if the costume becomes more important than the acting, then we have a problem, right? Neutral, solid colors work well. We want to cast you, not your earrings. That's a quote by Anna Durberg, who is also quoting, or I think Anna Durberg is being quoted by Bishop in 2015. Anyway, citing my sources. Think about rehearsal costume. What do you already own? Take a pic, and to see what it looks like, and what do you wear to show the feeling of that character. And then also editing is part of the game, so you can edit your thing as well. Camera important. You want to use the back of the camera, not the front of the camera, because that is the back cameras are significantly better. You want to have your settings to 1920 by 8 by 1080, which is a 1080p. The 1 times lens, so it's not distorted or warped. Sound close as possible if you don't have an extra mic. Orientation of landscape only, never portrait, right? So landscape, not portrait, unless it's specifically asked for, or that's the format you're doing. If it's a TikTok commercial, then it may be in portrait, but the standard is like landscape. Mount a tripod and get one with a level so that you know it's flat. There's also settings on the camera that show that. And then someone asked about like a to-go kit. So like if you're traveling or something and you want a self-tape kit, what should you have in it? You have your phone, a lapel mic, an extension cord to make sure that you can film continually, so that you can be charging your phone. Rolled up backdrop is great, a tripod, and then maybe an LED square so that you have 2 lights. And then also makeup is the unsung hero of lighting, because there's makeup that helps reflect light. It could mute something or reflect it, right? And then Charles talked about getting 2,000 to 7,000 tapes for this video game audition. And if you named it incorrectly, it won't even be watched. And so when we submit a tape, we need to name everything correctly and follow instructions. Editing is important. The file is being given. So if you share it, make sure that that's something that you don't care to lose possession of, in a sense. If it's a link, make sure it can be opened, like open it up on a private browser or send it to a friend and see if they can open it, because if there's any problems there, that's a problem. Then we were given a prompt and we made a self-tape. The original plan was for us to go off into the halls and then make our self-tape and then come and then submit it and then come back, and he would be like, you didn't name it right, so that's a problem. But we had lots of questions, and we were having a big discussion of things, and so he adapted, and we just did them in the room with him. And the prompt was a 30-second self-tape, and he asked to do, a friend has asked you to do something illegal. You need to take it in and answer yes or no. It could be something along the lines of stealing from the company you work at. But we all went one by one to do this. We did it our first time. I don't want to do it right now. I thought about doing it, but I don't want to look at myself when I do it. So you like do that and you're like, no, or whatever, or yeah. And then he gave you a note, and with the note, like for example, my note, it was just an individual note. So everybody went, but I didn't hear everyone's notes. My note was to really like ground myself, feel like I have roots going through my feet to be able to answer this question. So just like have the question like really, really stick with me and affect me. And then I have to like almost change posture or physically respond to be able to say no or whatever. And yeah, it was a cool experience. I'm really excited about this class. We're really jumping into it now. Then we had lunch. And then we had practical voice with Tamsin. And oh, wow. I am taking my time on this video. We paired up and discussed our experience with our Jacobean projects. And then we shared our feelings and experiences with the whole class one by one. And this took us about an hour. And we just had things to say and things to discuss. And Tamsin's so great at adapting her lesson. And she asked if everyone felt like this was beneficial. And we were all like, yeah, we're really enjoying this. And then there was questions about like using nasal resonance to take the pressure off the vocal cords, like depending on where your resonance is can like affect and help you make different choices. And then we will be using a chosen text as our final performance after our warm-up in the class at the end of term. So so technique is repetition. So make sure that it's repeatable and it's something that we've done multiple times. That's the technique. And then one of the students, Jess, talked to them during their project, and she had a tendency to end on an upward inflection, and she got the note to discover the last word. And that kind of helped her have that downward inflection. And it's funny because the Americans all had the opposite problem, that they were ending on a downward inflection and dropping the last word. And so it didn't have that importance. And so to give that importance to the last word kind of helps fix that ending problem. I wrote, tell me something that's new, fresh, and exciting. Maybe that's to do with the last thing. I don't know what that means. Notes aren't negative. They are to help us find more. Right? Really write down things for yourself. Write down your process and all that you're learning and going through. Then we paired up and read our chosen text. And we had 7 minutes to open up our resonance and to warm up. And then we had a bit of a Tamsin-led opening. We did a twist where we laid on the ground. And then we brought our knees over to one side. And then we put our neck to the opposite side. And breathe into our sides to open up that spot. Then we switched. We did lots of warming up the area and opening the space. We did some chest resonance opening, which we stood with our head tilted up and our jaw open. Like if we were drinking water, it would just drop right in. And then we imagined that we were a volcano and we had this lava bubble inside of us, and the pressure and heat was coming, and then the hot air was coming out with a little gentle really focusing on that chest. And then we would feel the lava spurting out of us on a vocalization like 3 times. So so that's that lava spurting out of us. And then we replace the hand to its natural position, and we did it again. The head to its natural position, sorry. And then and we did it with numbers. 1, 2. We did the 1, 2, 3, 4, which helps us connect to a specific thing. And then we spoke it normally, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that was kind of that gist of it. And then we had embodiment, and Anna was out for a medical purpose that she said wasn't a big deal. I was just thinking about time for a second. Yeah, I don't need to be there till 9:30. And we began with stepping into. Oh yeah, so Rosie, our like student teacher who's working, I think, on her master's at Central, she took over the class and she taught. And so we began with stepping into the golden circle. After we put in a color and something we needed in today's class, she put the shake of her dog's ears and a color. I put cyan, the color cyan, 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 cyan. And what else did I put in? Oh, stepping out into the sun after it's been too long. And just like winter when it turns into spring and just taking the sun. Ooh, that was good. And then we explored Chekhov's archetypal psychological gestures. And so I'll have to do a little physicalization for y'all. So these gestures are kind of, they're not exactly set, but they're intuitive. So you start at the opposite extreme of them and then you go in. So for example, the first one is to close. So you go from an open position into a close. And you try to find the extremity in it. And then exactly the opposite. You could start from down and open. So those are two, open and close. There's push. And one of the things that I was struggling with, you don't want to put like muscularity behind it or tension, but it's just the movement itself. And you want to get your whole body involved. Well, that's one way to do it. You can do it like a small one, or you can like really get your body involved. And you don't want to get off balance, so you want to kind of sink into it. And then so there's push, and then there's pull, and then there is smash. So you come from the bottom, you pick it up, and you throw it down. Then there's embrace. There is penetrate. There is ring. So bring it all the way across the body. There's tear. Right? Try to get your whole body involved in it with the tear. And then there's lift, right? Bow. So those are the, how many? 10. So I close, I open, I push, I pull, I smash, I embrace, I penetrate, I ring, I tear, I lift. And yeah, then we did a small version and then a full body version. And then we did it with our inner body. So you think of the inner body doing it first. Like push, for example, I push. I imagine my spirit, my inner body, whatever it may be, doing it before, like in my mind's eye. And then I just follow. And you're not trying to like push, like put effort or muscularity or tension into it. It's just the movement itself, which I haven't bought into yet. Then we did it just with our inner bodies and kept it mental. And then we walked around in the state of I close, or I push, I pull. And then we walked around the room. We acknowledged people. We shook hands. We gave a hug. We sat down. We moved a chair. We did something with that. And we explored these and saw how we felt afterward. And like I said, I struggle with that non-tension. And then we had a little break. And then we passed the ball to our scene partner. And we first just started doing it. Well, I'm a trio. I have two people playing Masha that I'm versioning with. So we passed it. And then we did yes or no, and then words from the script, civilian, love, glow, whatever it may be. And then lines with those inner gestures in mind. So I push, crummy little moron, whatever it may be. Okay, then we talked about archetypes. So there are 12 beginning archetypes that we identified. I'm probably going to get up again, so I won't move the camera. But there is ruler, creator artist, sage, innocent, explorer, rebel, hero, wizard, jester, everyman, lover, caregiver. And so we chose 3 archetypes for our characters. And so what I chose for Vershinin was hero, sage, and lover. And this is kind of how he saw himself. Then one of the students modeled a ruler, and they did kind of this. It was like, boom. And he felt it as a smash. And so to do that more, he came down. It's like to have that up and down, and then picked a word from the play. And he was like, civilians. And then we got into our partners and made decisions about what gestures and archetypes we wanted to use and make. So you're not doing you're doing a gesture based on your archetype, and then you combine it with one of the psychological gestures, and you adapt it to make it fit better. So I did something. Yeah, so like, what was my first one? Hero. I think I just did this for hero. And then I was like, okay, how can I do this? And I was like, I can't remember how I did that one. I did one, my sage one was I gathered all the information, and then I came down in a close, because I was gathering the information, keeping it for myself, kind of a thing. But yeah, that was the whole thingy. And then it was the end of the day, and yeah, I just stayed and worked, and I did my index cards for el, ¿cómo se dice? El Caballero de Olmedo. So these are all my lines. I have 67 lines, but a lot of them are just one word. I don't have any long speeches. Should be fun. Yeah. Anyway, hope you all have a great day, lifetime. I gotta get going. Gotta go to school. Bye-bye.